Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning podcast on Twitch Sports. This is the high-paced American football podcast in which the time is in short supply, but the opinions certainly are not. I'm Matt. That's Jez. I don't know whether he's up or down. He's there. He's up. He's there. He's up. Up, down, left, right. Yeah. How are you?
I am all right, apart from I've somehow managed to hurt my wrist, and I have no idea how, but it's been killing me since yesterday evening.
You've got a history with your wrist.
Not that one though.
I'm
this
not going
one.
to go into that. Absolutely, yeah. I remember the injury with the hurdles a long time ago.
Yeah, I broke this one, but this is fine. No, this one, like twisting motions and stuff, are painful. So. Yeah, I was going to be playing The Last of Us again tomorrow night, but I'm like, I probably shouldn't do the controller-y type stuff too much. So we're going to have a little community game night. Not a big one, just a little one. Play some community games. Why not?
Sounds interesting. But I will impart a little bit of knowledge to you before we get started tonight. And the wrist thing comes with old age. And I'm older than you, so I know about it.
Fair enough. I mean, I am old. That is the truth of the matter. Bazinga Ludlam, welcome. You were doing your Deacon St. John impression again. There you go. And
yeah, you were.
He tweeted me in the week, or just generally tweeted that I'm the twin of Deacon St. John from the video game, name of which I've forgotten, but I immediately went to, as soon as I read that, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I immediately went to Twitch and searched for some people playing it, just to see what the game was like, and the game looks pretty good. So I might play that one day and dress up properly like the guy I look a lot like from that game, Deacon St. John.
Yeah, I'd start claiming loyalties and royalties and all that.
Yeah, Days gone. That's
absolutely.
That's it.
Days gone. There we are. Yeah, Bazinga will know, and welcome, Bazinga. Hope you're well. It's been a long time since I've seen you on the field, but we'll get in there here in Wales. So back to the field next weekend.
And if I remember rightly, isn't he a 49ers fan?
He is, for his sins, absolutely.
So he's come to the right episode this week, because we are going to be later in the show discussing the draft prospects of the AFC and Nfc West.
Or as I called it, the Wild Wild West. I was going to get a cowboy hat. I was going to have the cowboy hat and everything. I can't find one. Ugh.
COVID,
there we are.
You can't buy a cowboy hat when you need it in COVID land. It's just not possible.
No, I had plenty of cowboy hats from the last time I went to a certain theme park resort in France, but they've gone now.
Fair enough. You can say Disneyland,
It was Disneyland. There we go. I wasn't going to get into a copyright fight with Disneyland.
you can say it. We're not the BBC.
I went to Disneyland Paris. I'm not going to have 100,000 complaints. It's fine.
Yeah. No, we're not the BBC. We don't have to worry about bias. We don't have to even throw in other theme park or resorts are available. Just go to Disneyland. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, too right. There's one for the family-friendly show.
There's one for me to bleep. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Captain Brilliant, hello, welcome aboard as well, and welcome to anybody that is lurking around and hasn't commented in the chat. But 4 minutes into this show, we haven't really spoken a dot of American football, and we should probably get started with that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that's the whole theme of the show, right?
It is, apparently. We make it up. We kind of make it up as we go.
Yeah, why not?
But we start off today with news close to your New England Patriots, Matt, with Julian Edelman announcing his retirement. Edelman failed another physical as the injuries continued to plague the veteran wide receiver. How do you feel about this news and retirement? Here are our first 2 minutes of the day.
So I saw the retirement video package on social media, and yeah, all right, it's a bit of a passing of the guard type moment for me. As if you follow the New England Patriots, if you followed his career, He started off as a quarterback at Kent State. He switched over to wide receiver when he came into the NFL with the Patriots. A utility player of sorts, I get. If he did both sides of the ball in the side of offense and special teams, and all around he was a pretty nice guy. From I've never met him personally, but yeah, he seems a genuine guy. 3-time Super Bowl winner, and he won the MVP of the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 53. A lot of news is going around about what he's going to do next. I think he's going to stay true to his roots. He's going to retire. He's going to stay retired, and I hope he does. And one day he'll come in as a coach. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got no love lost for the Patriots, but you can definitely see that Edelman was, a quality wide receiver. He did a lot for the Patriots over the last 12 years. Didn't even realise he'd been in the league that long. As for the retirement, will it stick? I suppose the only reason he's retired is because he couldn't pass a physical. But maybe with some time off and some healing time, maybe he can get a physical done, and he'll join his friends in Tampa Bay. I mean, Gronk flippantly said there was a 69% chance that Edelman would eventually come and join him down in the sunshine, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see. It took Gronk a couple of years, didn't it, to come out of retirement with his flitting into wrestling world and what he did with his commercials. But yeah, Julian Edelman doesn't seem to be too fussed on being in these mega adverts or becoming a wrestling champion either.
No,
but there we are.
and slight digression. He's not all that entertaining either. I do remember an NFL Network documentary that he and Danny Amendola did a few years ago. They went to some country, I don't remember the full details, and basically did like a travel diary type thing, and they were dull, both of them. Dull as dishwater.
The guy's just earning his paychecks and he's going to retire. Just stay Boston, Foxborough loyal, and just go off into the sunset.
Yeah, it's quite rare nowadays that a player spends their entire career with one team, so it would be a shame to tarnish that by coming out of retirement and going somewhere else. But there you go.
Absolutely. Flip side of the coin here, and it goes to your Chicago Bears. So on Friday night, the Chicago Bears added to their wide receiver depth by signing former San Francisco 49er receiver Marquise Goodwin. Bears signed Goodwin to a 1-year deal after he declined to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just going to laugh there. Last season due to COVID-19 concerns. Is it a good pickup for the Bears? What do you think? 2 minutes on the clock.
I'd be interesting to see what Bazinga Ludlam thinks of this as well, as a 49ers fan and being familiar with Goodwin. But I mean, it remains to be seen, really. He's never had massive, mega stellar seasons. He had one really good season in 2017 where he had 962 yards, but that only ever came with 2 touchdowns, so he didn't really light things up. If he gets the chance to show that he can play in Chicago, then great. If not, then I guess it's just added depth for a receiver core that isn't very good and is probably, middle to average in the same way that he's shown himself to be. So it's a cheap pickup. It's not good. It's not bad. I personally think he's going to fit in quite well with the group that we've got. Time will tell. What do you think?
Yeah, so I didn't really pick up the news until today. I know it's a couple of days off since he was picked up. But yeah, he could be a good fit for the Bears. But a lot of news surrounding the signing is where does he fit into that receiver core? The Bears already have whatever you want to call it, a good, medium good receiving core. So a lot of press outlets are saying, is he wide receiver 3 or 4? He's a good player. He's got experience in the league. He'll bring experience to the team. And he'll just bring much needed depth to that core. Say wide receiver 1 or 2 gets injured in the season. So, it's to be seen. It's to be seen.
Yeah, and right at the buzzer there, good job. Bazinga says he's insanely fast, but he's got more than a few drops in him per game. I want him to do well, though. Guy's been through so much and is an awesome guy. Yeah, former Olympian. He is super fast. Perhaps he can also lend something to special teams. The kick returner. We need a decent, speedy kick returner.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's really not costing the Bears anything. It's worth a punt as far as I'm concerned. He's better than Andy Dalton. Maybe he can play quarterback. Anyway, speaking of quarterbacks, expected first overall pick Trevor Lawrence made the news this week when he said in an interview, quote, "I don't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everybody wrong. I just don't have that. I can't manufacture that. I don't want to." This has caused some question for Lawrence's passion for the game. Is this a red flag? Should the Jags be worried about this? Here are 2 minutes.
I think a lot comes to the fore now with people questioning his passion for the game. In my opinion, that's a silly thing to do, stupid thing to do. It's obvious that he's committed to playing in the NFL. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the college career he has. My concern now for him is with all these stories coming out and in that interview with what he said, is that his stock will drop between now and draft day. So we've got about 2 weeks until draft day. And in those 2 weeks, do the Jags now look to reassess their option with their first round pick? So first overall, do they go for a quarterback that's just a little bit down on that list? Do they look past Trevor Lawrence? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see, right?
I mean, I know, and the answer is no. They're not going to look past Trevor Lawrence. There's very, very little that can be done at this point to derail Trevor Lawrence going first overall. I mean, he would have to probably kill someone or cut his hand off or something like that. He is 100% the best quarterback in this draft, and even if he is slightly lacking in passion, if a guy can do what he can do with zero passion, then you can only go up from there, right? Maybe it's a concern that he kind of doesn't have that overarching thing driving him to succeed, but if it becomes a problem, you can see a therapist that can drive you towards that. Tom Brady's been manufacturing chips on his shoulder for his entire career. Nothing bad has ever happened to that guy. He's manufactured the world hating him to propel him forward. So anybody can do that. It's not a big deal. People need to stop trying to create a story where there isn't one, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's the problem with the media, isn't it? It doesn't matter where you are in the world and you're a sports person. You're always going to get media, especially this close to the draft and the number one pick coming out of this draft class. There's gonna be media, and do you know something? If that guy turns anything out like Tom Brady has over his career, Trevor Lawrence is going to be playing for 20 odd years and winning rings. So
yeah, and here's the thing, and I'm going to sacrifice my time out just to extend this conversation. The thing about this year's draft especially, and the fact that we know Trevor Lawrence is the first overall,
Mm-hmm.
We know that Zach Wilson is the second overall.
Yeah.
And we'll get to third a little bit later. But there is a lot that we know about this draft. And so if you can't create kind of news and media in the fact that who will be first overall, who will go second, we've got a lot of options, let's talk all about them. If you don't have that, then the media need to manufacture some other news to keep talking about these guys. So the manufactured news here is that, Trevor Lawrence has got a chip on his shoulder, or doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, and so maybe he drops out of first, so we can talk about the first overall pick again, whereas normally we can't say anything. It's like, well, it's Trevor Lawrence, isn't it? End of conversation. There's no news here. And that's definitely happening a little bit later down, once you get to third and the Niners and the Falcons and Bengals.
Yeah.
And so
I think
on.
we've been talking about Trevor Lawrence for so long now, even on 2 Minute Warning, that it seems a dead cert that he's going to end up where he is. He's going to the Jags for certain, and he's going to be first overall.
Even before the Jags had that first pick, Trevor Lawrence has been the first overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft for a good 2 years. That's just been the knowledge, because he's a generational talent.
Absolutely, and you'd be stupid to pass up on him.
Yes.
That's what the Jags would be. They'd be labelled stupid to pass up on him, because Zach Wilson isn't, all right, a very good quarterback, but he is not Trevor Lawrence, not just in namesake, but in
potential,
talent, in potential, and in talent sake. And that's just seeing what Trevor Lawrence does and has done at college level. Simple.
There you go. There's an extra bit of 2 minutes.
Yes.
And the chat has turned. Welcoming a few other people that have joined us. The chat has turned to pub and cocktail conversation, which I'm all for. I'm surprised.
I've got no pubs open yet, so shut it. All right.
All right. Well, I went and sat in a beer garden last night. That was nice. That was lovely.
I'm not gonna swear on this podcast. All right.
I'll make you feel better. It was freezing, and we didn't stay too long because it was cold.
You deserved it. I got a cocktail of sorts here. It's pirate juice and pineapple. All right, that's all I'm saying, because it's family friendly.
Yeah, again, you can say rum. Rum is family friendly. The word rum is family friendly. Yeah. Unless you are a pirate, then not so much.
Not a Buccaneers fan, so I can't be a pirate.
Let's move on.
Absolutely. So, moving on, and two fairly major defensive ends were signed to new contracts this week, with Aldon Smith signing a 1-year deal to the Seattle Seahawks, and former top overall pick Jadeveon Clowney signing a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Cleveland Browns. Which of these is the best pickup? Do either of them make a difference? 2 minutes on the clock. Let us know what you think.
So it just seems like this might be the Bazinga Ludlam episode, because now we're talking about Aldon Smith, who really made his name in the 49ers. We're talking about the 49ers left, right and centre. In his first 2 seasons with the 49ers, he had 33.5 sacks, and then he decided that he'd rather do hard time or self-destruct generally instead. So he hasn't really come back from that in the places that he's been. He was in Dallas last year, I believe. Really didn't produce in the same kind of way. He adds to a very deep defensive end pool in Seattle. Mm-hmm. So in the case of injury, he may come in and provide relief, but it's just depth here. I don't see anything groundbreaking there. Clowney, on the other hand, who, and I quote, "I just want to show I'm still an elite player," he told reporters. "Prove I can still dominate. Gonna see this season." He struggled a little bit in Seattle last year, but I don't see any real reason that he can't make an impact for the Browns. And for $10 million over the course of a year, I think it's worth a punt for the Browns. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, the question that came into my head straight off was Clowney has gone to the Browns. What's that all about? But yeah, he's only just signed a 1-year, $30 million contract with the Titans last season. But he's expressly said that moving on to the Browns has a lot to do with the scheme fit in Tennessee, as well as his knee injury that provided an opportunity to move on. His stats last year weren't great, so it'd be definitely interesting to see how he fits in at the Browns. He provides that. Aldon Smith, however, he tormented the Seahawks for the first part of the 2010s. Former 49ers Super Bowl runner-up last year in Dallas. And now he's a Seahawk. We'll have to see how that goes for him.
Yeah. And a little sparse on the news this week, but that is the news. And when we come back from our brief commercial break, we're going to look at the AFC and NFC West and what we anticipate they might do in the draft based on their needs. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Enjoy the commercials. Welcome back to 2 Minute Warning and the slightly extended commercial break because it was being a pain in my rear and wouldn't turn off the emote only mode, which is great, just what you need. Trying
Absolutely.
to get things done and it doesn't work. But now we conclude our look around the league and the draft needs of every single team by division. And in the AFC West, you're going to kick things off with the Las Vegas Raiders, who I still want to call the Oakland Raiders. I haven't got used to that yet, even now. So take us through it. Here's 2 minutes.
So yes, the Las Vegas Raiders have the 17th pick in the first round. They're looking at needing offensive tackle, linebacker, interior offensive line, safety, and interior defensive line. I've identified their biggest need are being offensive tackle. They are touted, and this is touted, to pick up Micah Parsons out of Penn State at the Nittany Lions. If he isn't snapped up before, then the Raiders will certainly snap him up, according to their social media and their various websites available online. And it's going to be his landing spot. He's featured as we know. We've spoken about him quite a few times over the past couple of weeks. He's one of the top defensive players in this year's draft class. He's featured, like I said, on the show quite a few times. And we're only a few weeks away from finding out where he does get drafted to. Personally, I can't wait to see him playing in the league. He's, like we've said, he's highly rated. He's quite high up in the draft. Various drafts that have been put around, the mock drafts, and his position in that draft class is quite high. Raiders, it's a high possibility. I know he's, like I said, he's been put into quite a few first round draft picks.
Yeah, I don't have him getting that far, unfortunately. I've got him going 10th to the Cowboys.
Yeah, so he's very, very highly rated. Very highly rated.
I do have them taking a linebacker, though, and it's interesting that you mentioned that their biggest need was tackle and then gave them a linebacker. But there's that. Yeah. I have them taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, another linebacker. So
massive long name that I'm never going to be able to pronounce. So
that's the only reason you didn't pick him, isn't it? Because you didn't want to say that name out loud.
Yeah, it's just, pure, good journalism from me. Because I can't say the name. There we are.
So I'm looking at the NFC West teams, and who do I have first, Matthew?
You have the lovely job at looking at the LA Rams.
Okay.
Not the St. Louis Rams.
Not the St. Louis Rams, yeah, to continue the throwback name theme. Well, I'm not going to press the clock for 2 minutes because the Rams don't have a first-round pick, so screw them.
So what you're actually saying is, on tonight's episode for this draft needs of teams, I'm doing all the work and you've got nothing to do at the moment.
Well, I'll do the next one, won't I? No?
Yeah.
So, totally shirked that one. Moving on, back to the AFC, where you will look at the Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Chargers. See? That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
To keep reminding you what teams used to be called. That's useful, right? That's knowledge you need.
Absolutely. Pub quiz knowledge, right?
I do like that pub quiz knowledge. Anyway, Chargers, all yours, 2 minutes that are actually happening. Here you go.
So they are 13th overall. They're looking at needing offensive tackle, an edge rusher, a safety, or a cornerback as their first pickups. Their biggest need is a cornerback, so right on that team needs fringe, as I said. They are looking at J.C. Horn out of South Carolina or Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Both have been mentioned, I believe, last week. So out of the two I pointed out, I think Horn is the most likely to end up in LA. Farley is ranked higher in the draft and doesn't look to be falling below 11. Horn is ranked at 27th. with another cornerback not mentioned by myself, and that being Asante Samuel II, who is ranked one place above in 26th. All these cornerbacks have fantastic potential and are all good prospects. I just think wherever they fall into their respective new teams, I am pretty sure that they'll all have good careers. I can't wait to see where these guys land. I mean, cornerback seems pretty highly rated this season. I know some fall down the list, like I said, with Horn and Asante Samuel II. Farley's probably going to go quite early. But
they might get
mentioned,
lucky with Farley.
Yeah.
With JC Horn. I think Farley is going to be way down the line. But JC Horn, who should be in that kind of top 15 of the draft, they might get lucky with him because of all the quarterbacks that are going to go in the beginning of the draft. I personally don't have him available at 13. He's really just gone by the time he gets there, but we will wait and see. Who they actually go for. I think corner is a good shout for the Chargers.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of their main needs if they're going to build from what they've started on my favourite reality TV program, Hard Knocks. There we go. I enjoyed that. I can't wait for it to come back and see where they do it this year and see how COVID affected them going into this season. But we'll see.
I love Hard Knocks. You weren't exactly an early adopter starting to watch it 20 years in, but, got to start somewhere, I suppose.
Absolutely. I'm pretty much like that with all TV series, so there we are. Anyway, we go back to the NFC West, and you have got the lovely, lovely task of, as somebody called it earlier, the Sea Chickens, but Seattle Seahawks. 2 minutes, right?
No. Again, no 2 minutes for the Sea Pigeons either, because they don't have a first-round pick. You really messed this up when we discussed who would take which division. You volunteered to have the AFC. We really didn't think it through, did you?
No, I just like tapping away for notes and stuff, I guess, right? Doing research on a Sunday morning, afternoon.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there we go.
2 in a row where I don't have to do anything. That's my kind of work.
I'm pretty sure it's going to get more difficult for you. Surely.
Well, I might have to do one team in this division at some point, possibly.
Hopefully.
So as little cute girl age 6 joins the room, your next draft discussion centers around the Denver Broncos, who have not come from another place. They're just the Denver Broncos.
I'm sure they had another name before the Broncos. I'll have to go delving into the archives.
The Rocky Mountain Nays, maybe.
Absolutely. That's the type of team that needs to go into the XFL. Listen, Dwayne Johnson, all right?
The wheels are off. Here are 2 minutes for the Broncos.
So they're pretty high up in the draft, and they've got 9th overall. They're looking at a linebacker, a cornerback, or a quarterback. It's been identified that their biggest need is actually a quarterback. So they are looking at potentially picking up Mac Jones of Alabama. I found out his full name is Michael McCorkle Jones. There we go. Interesting middle name there. So Broncos find themselves in an urgent need of a quarterback, and the top 4 are going to fall within the first 4. Mac Jones is the 5th best quarterback in this draft class. However, he could end up falling to 9th, although there is a potential trade that the Broncos could do with the Atlanta Falcons to go up to 5th overall. he's a good quarterback. I mean, he won 2 college championships. First in 2017 as a backup QB, and then his second in 2020, so last season for them with the Crimson Tide. Like I said, he's a very good quarterback, and he's been scouted by quite a few teams. So if he goes there, he has got work to do. Okay, with the team that's going to be put around him, but he's not going to go in as a starter. Surely, I mean, he's going to get quite a few reps, but he's not going to go in as QB1. Surely, but he'll fit into their scheme, right?
Well, Mac Jones aside, if they draft a quarterback, they don't really have many other options. So maybe it is a day one starter.
Is Drew Lock still there?
Drew Lock is still there, yeah, but they've pretty much given up on him, it seems, because the discussion is definitely around quarterback for the Broncos.
Yeah. Who? Just out of interest, do you have the Broncos picking up a QB?
I do have the Broncos picking up a QB, but not Mac Jones.
Oh. We'll have to wait until next week, right?
Well, I'm going to publish my draft this week ahead of our joint mock draft next Sunday. But you'll probably be able to work out who I've put in that spot based on discussion a little bit later with another team. So
yes. So I do believe now you've got a little bit of talking to do and an actual 2-minute slot because you are looking at the
ghastly.
Oh, absolutely! Can you imagine the show being a 5-minute warning? You'd have to talk a whole 4 or 5 minutes about the Cardinals. There we go. It's the Cardinals for you. 2 minutes on the clock.
So the Cardinals are picking 16th. They are picking in the first round. I actually have to do some work.
Great.
Their main needs I identified as cornerback and an interior offensive lineman, so a guard or a centre if that's available. But you're not drafting centres at 16. That's just unheard of. No. I think the quality corners that you would consider drafting around 16 are going to already have gone. And the next kind of caliber of cornerback, as we discussed earlier, isn't going to be until late first, moving into the second. So I think they take this opportunity to go and look at their offensive line. And I would pick for them Rayshawn Slater, guard from Northwestern. He was terrific as a left tackle in Northwestern, but he opted out of the 2020 season. He could be used as a left tackle, but that's really not what the Cardinals are after. He is versatile. He can play at tackle or guard. He bends his knees well. He gets down low. He's got outstanding pad level and consistently gets leverage on his opponents. He's very quick off the snap, which, especially in that interior, blocking for the running backs is really important. So wouldn't have been quite as much use as a guard if he couldn't really get off the ball quickly and move into the next level and block for a running back. So that's cool. Keeps his feet moving. He's got great lateral blocking range as well. He stays square. Immediately gets his hands up. He's your kind of prototypical offensive lineman, and you wouldn't generally draft a guard this high, but I think being that they're trying to build Kyler Murray and build around Kyler Murray, I think Rayshawn Slater is the pick that the Cardinals need at 16.
Good call. Good call.
There you go. I did some work. Check me out.
Absolutely. You could,
have a
get a sticker.
Now.
Get a sticker, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I did some work.
Well, you can go back to carrying the show, and is this your last one? Yeah, you're finishing off the draft for the AFC West as you discuss the runners-up of the 2020 season, the Kansas City Chiefs, who, in case you're keeping score, have not been anything else. They have always been the Kansas City Chiefs. Just to roll with that theme. 2 minutes on the clock. Go for it.
So as you said, runners-up, so they get the grand prize of drafting 31st. And they are looking at offensive tackle, wide receiver, linebacker, and interior offensive line. However, their biggest need is apparently an edge rusher. We'll see. They are being touted to pick up Joe Tryon, which I know I mentioned him last week, at Washington, or a player I haven't heard of or come across yet, called Samuel Cosme. Is an offensive tackle, so that's in their needs, out of the Texas Longhorns. As I said, Tryon, I noted last week, he'll probably be around 31st if he's not picked up.
Yeah.
I know you had him quite late in the draft. He's got a ton of speed. He'll make any D-line better. I don't see him being a starter in his rookie year, though. But that is my opinion, and that usually counts for nothing when it comes to a draft because it's my first one. As a commentator on it all, Cosme, since his freshman season, displayed flashes of next level ability, potential to be an early round pick. His play was up and down the past 2 years, however. While Cosme looks great at times, there are also instances where he looks rather pedestrian. Possesses an enormous amount of upside, which could wind up as a starting left tackle in the league, or he could be an underachiever that bounces from team to team and never really realises potential. And that is analysis from Pro Football Network. So that's their thoughts on it as well.
Duff says the Falcons are sending a full allotment to Trey Lance's second pro day, evaluating all options amid receiving calls for the number 4 pick. Yeah.
Don't need.
I think we discussed the Falcons and whether they would stay in that spot or trade out and get more picks, or whether they would just go for something else. I have them taking Kyle Pitts, because I think they just need to draft the best player available and make the most of that pick, personally. But we will see. Lots of talk about other teams trading in to get Trey Lance, who is the 4th best. Well, I have him as the 3rd best quarterback, actually. But that's an interesting segue to speak about the final team. Yes,
you've got one of our listeners or viewers rather tonight, their team, San Francisco 49ers. Now, I don't think they've been called anything else either.
No, I don't think so. There was talk of perhaps moving the team a few years ago, and then they didn't.
Yeah, got a nice stadium, so don't move.
Yeah. Not in San Francisco, in Santa Clara, but
that's it. Yeah,
the Santa Clara 49ers doesn't really work because there's got nothing to do with the gold rush in Santa Clara. No.
Yeah, no.
The Silicon Valley microchips, maybe we could go with that.
There we go.
Anyway, I've digressed enough.
2 minutes.
So it's very well documented by now that the 49ers are going to pick 3rd, having traded into that spot, taking Miami's pick. Matt's already spoken about Mac Jones, and I think that is who the 49ers pick up in 3. Many people have touted Mac Jones as the 5th best quarterback in the draft, and I'm inclined to agree with that. But I really think that the powers that be in San Francisco have got their eye on Mac Jones, and that is the selection that they have made, for better or for worse. It's not where I would go. I personally would take Trey Lance third overall if I were the 49ers. There's no question they're taking a quarterback. You don't trade up to third to go and take an offensive tackle or a tight end. It's just not going to happen. I think Trey Lance is the better option. He's the complete physical package at the quarterback position. He's got great build. He's got great athleticism. He's got great arm strength. He's a run-pass option QB. They've kind of lost that kind of run-pass option in the last few years, but I think the 49ers really suit a run-pass option, that more kind of college style of offense. He's got the potential, Lance this is, not Mac Jones, to make all the throws in or out of the pocket. He's patient in the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, goes through his progressions nicely. He looks natural. When he's looking down at the safety, he looks off the safety very naturally. And if nothing is there, he's been well documented of going to the outlet underneath and checking down to make sure that he's not throwing any costly interceptions or generally wasting plays, turning over the ball, etc. So I would go Trey Lance, but I don't think the 49ers are going to. I have them taking Mac Jones in my mock draft.
Interesting pick. And I can't even remember how they came to take third overall, because they weren't that bad, right?
No, they traded Miami's third pick, which wasn't originally Miami's third pick. They had received it from, I want to say, the Houston Texans.
Right, yeah.
I think in the Laramie Tunsil trade, if I'm remembering correctly. So it was the Texans pick, who were terrible. Then it was Miami's pick, and now it's the 49ers pick. They gave up a fair amount to trade into 3, so I think they had in their mind who they wanted at this point. You don't go, oh yeah, we'll trade into 3rd and we'll just see who's about. You kind of know, all right, Trevor Lawrence is going 1st,
yeah,
Zach Wilson's going 2nd, and we'll have this person who is definitely going to be 3. But they've got the choice of Mac Jones, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields also, and I think Justin Fields would be a better option than Mac Jones too.
Yeah.
Personally,
and that's what we've got to keep our eye on, isn't it? It's how all these trades can be traded around all over the place when we come to the actual draft at the end of this month, where teams can trade up and down and even swap trades for picks next year and even the year after as well, where they can just stack up draft picks to build a team in future years. So yeah, interesting.
And when we mock draft, I don't think we'll get into massive complications of this team is trading up. I think we will just run the 32 as they are. Otherwise you are really trying to predict the future in complicated and difficult ways. I don't think we need to be doing that for our mock draft next week, but that may change. We may see a change happen this week in between now and then, so keep an eye on this Trey Lance pro day, his second pro day, and see who is there and see who is interested. There was some talk of the Patriots trading up to get a quarterback early, but I saw the face, the look on Bill Belichick's face at Mac Jones's pro day, and it wasn't one of impressed. No,
it certainly was not, and I've seen that reaction too. So yeah, it was certainly not his first choice. It won't be his first choice QB to pick out of a rookie class for certain there.
The last thing that I will say about Mac Jones is the guy spent more time scratching his balls than he did completing passes on his pro day.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to finish that draft analysis, isn't it? Doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. End of. We've finished with the draft. It's taken a couple of weeks, and like last week we did a bumper episode, but we've got through the needs of the teams in the NFC and the AFC.
So next week we get to argue about who goes where. It may get heated at times. We'll see.
maybe it's a good job that we're in different countries.
It is, yes.
Although we can free travel now. So yeah, hop over the border for a cage match or something. That's my favourite thing this week, cage match. Anyway, we digress from one sport to the sport we're talking about. And as is tradition in our New Year's worth of episodes, we are going to start bench cut. And it's my turn this week. And with the draft looming, I had to look deep into the archives to see how we could challenge you this week, Jez, to be honest. I know your knowledge on the draft is pretty good. So I posed the question to you. Out of these three running backs from the 2000 draft class, who would you start, bench, and cut? So the first player I had was the 5th overall pick to the Ravens, Jamal Lewis. The 7th overall pick to the Cardinals, Thomas Jones. And finally, the 19th overall pick to the Seahawks, Shaun Alexander. Let us know what you think.
Okay, so the 2000 draft is just before when I actually started getting into the NFL, and I didn't really get into it heavily until the mid-2000s. But I have heard, and I had heard of all three of these gentlemen. Most notably, I'd heard of Thomas Jones because he wasn't drafted there, but he spent time with the Chicago Bears and then went on to the Jets and did fairly well. Shaun Alexander, I remember in Seattle. I remember him from the Seattle and Pittsburgh Super Bowl in, I want to say 2005 or 2004. Did well there and being on the Madden cover. The person I remember the least is Jamal Lewis, and I certainly don't remember him at the Ravens. I remember him being a Cleveland Brown and being one of the only good things that they had going for them in that period. So I'm leaning towards starting Thomas Jones because he's a guy I know and a guy I liked. But in looking at the numbers create a very clear picture for me. Shaun Alexander, over his career, amassed 9,453 yards and 100 touchdowns. The only thing that really held him back in the latter part of his career was injury. And so I would start him. I think he was the most solid, most consistent, most point scoring of those three. Thomas Jones, 10,591 yards and 68 touchdowns. Very reliable player. And as I said, I like the guy. I would bench him as a backup. And Jamal Lewis was fine. 10,607 yards, so better than Jones. 58 touchdowns, not quite as good as Jones. But towards the end of his career and post-career, Lewis's legal troubles would really have concerned me. And so I wouldn't want any part of that, and I would cut him.
Interesting choices. Like I said, I had to delve deep and test your knowledge there. Yeah. Well, we won't be doing start, bench, cut next week for our mock draft, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to have to dig deep and get you back and go a long way back for something. Yeah, like well before I was born or something.
Yeah,
like 1962 or something.
Yeah. Start bench. No, I tell you what, I know what it's going to be, and I'm going to have to look into it myself. But it's going to be start, bench, cut from the losing Super Bowl team of the New England Patriots in 1985.
Yeah, the one we lost to the Bears. There we are. The only Super Bowl we've lost to the Bears, right?
The only Super Bowl you've played against the Bears, to be fair. So you are 100% losers every time you play the Bears in the Super Bowl. How does that feel?
Absolutely. There's a stat for you.
Every time the Patriots play the Bears in the Super Bowl, they lose. And that's a stat you can take to the bank.
Absolutely.
We'll ignore, every other time that the Bears and the Patriots have played because
Yeah,
that tells a different story, and that's not the story I'm telling right now.
No. I'll get you back on that stat too, Dora.
So before we close, let's have a little look at what is coming up in the Primetime Streaming Network with a new flashy graphic. We're just going to look at things a day at a time now. So tomorrow, Monday the 19th of April, begins with Gaming with the Lado from Research 1. That's at 5:30 p.m. BST. Simultaneously, it's the return of VR_Sorrow, previously known as Captain Sorrow. He's getting back on Twitch with Dragon Age Inquisition. Mama S will be here at 6:30 with a game yet to be announced. And then I return at 8:30 BST, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, with some community games. As I mentioned earlier, my wrist isn't really up to playing The Last of Us, so I'll use this hand to control my mouse and play some community games with people. And I've already messed this up. The schedule says Gaming with a Lado from Research at 9:30, but he's actually trucking. It's American Truck Simulator at 9:30 with Research 1. So there we go. Always be chatting. Have you found us anyone to raid playing Madden? Or I can have a little look, see if there's somebody worthy. Back in the truck, says Research.
Back in the truck, yeah.
See if there's anybody worthy of some Madden love. Let's have a look. That guy's petting himself.
We don't need that petting.
No, they're all terrible. The only guy who was awesome switched to playing marbles. Oh, cool. Yeah, they do all look a bit dire, actually, now that I scroll through it. Okay. Well, with that in mind, then, we will go and raid Paris. Paris ENT. We love a bit of Paris, and it's always good to see him. He's back streaming after moving to Las Vegas, relocating, so let's go and show him some love. Get your squirrel emotes at the ready, and we will see you next week, same bat time, same bat station, for the mock draft, and many arguments about who goes to which team. I can't wait to get to the 15th pick and try and draft you a kicker at 15. That's going to be great.
Bring it on.
Until next week, I've been Jez. That's been Matt. Say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt.
See you next week.